Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Crossroads of Cognizance, where we take each week to look at what's going on the East Coast, going on the West Coast, everything in between, from the woo woo to the mundane. We're here to talk to you guys about it, give you tips and tricks, and hope that we can serve you in the best way possible. So, with me, I have.
I'm Katrina Rasbold. I'm the West Coast contingency here. And my husband and I own Crossroads Metaphysical Store in beautiful Shingle Springs, California. And we specialize in personal healing, spiritual cleansings, retail for handmade magical items. And I've heard rumors that we are the second largest metaphysical store in Northern California. So
Wow.
I don't have it on authority. Guinness has not been out, and yet here it is. So that's what we do. We have tons of classes and events that take place at our store. We're not doing any live streaming at this time, but we do have in person events. And I'm a published author of around, I don't know, something like 35 or 36 books. Some of
Man.
those are written with my husband, and they're all available on Amazon.com. So if you look up Katrina Rasbold, I'm the only human with that last name on that writes for that writes books, so you'll find me.
Nice. Over here, did I cut you off? I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, what's uh, my fantastic East Coast representation is.
Over here, yes. Dahlia Rose. I am the owner and keeper of Crystal Cognizance. I have no idea what size we are, but we have great reviews. So, we are over here on the East Coast in Woodbridge, Virginia, supporting our local community. And we do have actually some West Coast reach. I have clients in Arizona, so I guess nationally recognized. And I do healing work, spiritual counseling, and intuitive work as well. Card pulls, channeling, all kinds of fun things. I teach meditation, um, perform, thanks to Katrina, Olympias, and all manner of healing work is our goal. My favorite thing is to counsel people through their challenges and to get them in alignment with their purpose. So that's how we operate at Crystal Cognizance. And it seems like every week we have both of us, both Katrina and I, have an opportunity to kind of guide people back to that sense of purpose, that sense of balance and self. And that's what this show is all about, sort of talking about things that maybe aren't common conversations, and just to let you guys know that there's a way to navigate through these things. So this week, interestingly enough, our topic seems to center a lot around um, survival versus maintenance healing. Healing is multi-layered, multifaceted. It's not one straight shot. And oftentimes, I think with the wave that came in 2020 of people wanting to seek holistic treatments and then our social media outlets, it can be easy to think that there is one way to do things, or that you must not be doing it right if you aren't embodying something that somebody else is, and it's just not the case. And so today's show is where we will discuss that. Um, I know I have had instances in the beginning of my journey where I felt like I wasn't doing it right on my healing journey because I felt like I was just playing catch up. Have you had that instance, Katrina?
Absolutely. And I don't think there ever comes a time, no matter how far you are in your journey, that you don't question yourself. And if you've gotten to that place, then you really need to examine the hubris that is involved with that sort of conviction. We should always be wondering if we're doing it right and engaging the outcome. We should have confidence in who we are and what we do, and that is something that comes. But to always believe that there's one way and it's our way is really a painful pit to fall into.
Absolutely. The conversations I found myself having over here on the East Coast this week were about terms like survival versus maintenance. So, um, survival tends to look like not being able to catch a breath and feeling like one thing's going wrong after another. It feels like, you get a little bit of a we'll not even say a leg ahead, but like a toe ahead of the challenges. And then, you feel like you're on stable ground, you put your toe down and the bottom falls out again. And, you know, I had people coming to me and saying, "Hey, I must have a blockage because this is what's going on. These things are not manifesting, they're not occurring the way I thought they would, or even to the what would feel like the highest and best good." And I had to tell them, like, "Hey, you are not. It's not necessarily there are alternatives to blocks." Basically, was the conversation. And so we started talking about energy leakages. I know when I do, 8 healings in a row in a week, I start leaking
Yeah,
energy. Like there's
sure,
no
sure.
there's no amount of self-care that will stop that process from happening other than stopping the healing work and giving myself a break. Have you ever had that experience, Katrina?
Absolutely. And I've had times when I'm doing 5, 6 cleansings in a day, and it's just by the end of the day, I'm just done. And there's just energy going everywhere. I start to have it's kind of like when you're driving a car. If you drive a car really fast, 100 miles, 120 miles an hour, the slightest movement of the steering wheel creates really extreme responses in the vehicle. And it's the same
Yep.
thing with healers. When you're putting out a lot of energy toward healing, you start to get to the place that just the least little thing creates a bigger response in you energetically than what it should when you've overplayed that hand, so to speak. So
Absolutely.
absolutely I have that happen. And one of the challenges we have as healers right now, and people in general have as healers, is that worldwide right now we're coming out of 2 years of the species being at risk. And
Mhm.
anytime the entire human species is at risk, we have a united response of crisis. Even people who are healthy are still responding to the crisis. When you have a herd of gazelles and lions are tearing at the oldest one that's trying to keep up in the back, the strong healthy ones in the front start moving faster to get away. They don't go back and try to help the old gazelle. They're trying to move. So they
Right.
have a response even though they are not the ones affected. And so we have a lot of people who are responding to this global crisis energetically because they have a heightened sense of fear and concern and uh, fight, flight, or freeze response because of what's going on. And you mentioned, when you're in that crisis mode, you're in that mode of, okay, that we have a problem here. It's like a battlefield mentality. And when you're
Yep.
on the battlefield, you're not thinking forward to what you're going to do when the battle's over. You're not thinking in the past, oh, I remember that day that I was with my sweetheart and we were doing this and this. You're swinging the sword. You're in the moment of not dying, of staying alive, of survival, and of overcoming an enemy. And a lot of us are in that place right now. And when we're in that place, the amygdala is wide open. And that's what creates our crisis response. And so we have a lot of people, especially the tremendously empathic people, who are in that crisis mode, whether they are in crisis or not. And when you mentioned, crisis versus or survival versus maintenance, maintenance is great. We need maintenance, but our
Yeah.
goal is thriving. It's not just
Yes.
maintaining a baseline. It's really thriving, and there are so few people who are really thriving right now that it's almost like there's a weighted blanket on all of us, and not in a good way.
Not in a good way at all. And that thriving piece is so important. I actually spent my day just listening to a bunch of law of attraction stuff, and everybody has their experiences with law of attraction, and for me, it's not so simple as a law, right? I think there's a lot more nuances and diversity to the principle. And it was more from a place of, you know what, I just need to hear something positive. Like, hey, be clear about what you want, and I needed to have somebody say it to me as opposed to me being the person. So YouTube it was. And that principle of thriving is factored into that, being specific. Don't be afraid to ask for it. And there was a lot of discussion around what could be done. And journaling was one of the things that came up, not just simply talking about your emotions, but actually saying, like, hey, this would be the ideal outcome for me, universe, be willing to meet me halfway. And so there are a lot of options as far as those stages, survival, maintenance, and then finality being thriving. And there's fluctuations even within those. Like your thrive, you may be on low level thrive one day, but it doesn't mean you're out of the pocket, right?
Right.
Um, and with that, I found myself also having conversations with folks who were in survival mode right now, as Katrina was mentioning, the identifiers being, you're swinging that sword. Um, with that survival mode in mind, a lot of people are trying spell work and manifestation work while they're in survival and wondering, why they aren't getting the outcomes that they're hoping for. And we talk at length, I think, on this show about how sometimes the timing isn't right for a spell, or sometimes there are correspondences that need to be met before a spell can, um, be accomplished. But I wondered, with what you see in the spell realm, Katrina, how much healing plays a factor in with the spell work that a person could do.
Well, you know how moms, I say moms, I'm sure dads do this too, but parents will sometimes sneak broccoli into a casserole so their kids will eat it.
Yeah.
I do that with my spell work, is I'll try to sneak a healing process into the spell overtly or subvertly, because people as a whole are not interested in healing.
Yeah.
They're interested in
Can be that way.
fixing everything else around them. And that's what I see with people that come to me specifically for spell work. The spell work, I mean, I have got probably 30 candles I'm looking at right now. Look at this. We're going to do this. See, look. Okay, up there. Do you see the candles burning up there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's some of them. And I will guarantee you that probably three-quarters of them are candles intended to affect another person
Oh, wow.
besides the person who, instead of the person who ordered the candle. So we've got four candles up there for a woman who wants her son to get a job. We have got nine candles I can see up there right now, and that's just looking at the outside to open the doors and the processes for a person to fall in love with someone. And not to draw love to them, but a particular person I
That
want this
person.
to that person to fall in
Gotta
love
be
with.
you.
And it just goes straight on back. So I have one candle burning that I can see from here. That is a Lilith candle. That is a female empowerment ritual that went along with that candle. That there was a full ritual that I did for the lady, and now the glass candle carries that energy. And I see one gratitude candle. I also see, now that gratitude candle was in conjunction with a whole bunch of other candles to get somebody to love them. It was a package deal. So I do see two uncross my heart candles, and this is one of the ways that I put the broccoli into the spell work, is uncross my heart, help heal the old pains so that I can be a better part of a relationship. So anyway, my point is that it's very rare that people include healing with their spell work. They want results, very objective, specific results. And unfortunately, it's rarely about healing a relationship, healing something inside themselves, healing their connection with money. It's bring me more money. It's not,
Right.
I open my spirit so that I can receive wealth. So I have to
I've
kind of,
actually burned two of those candles.
so that's because you know what you're doing. So I have to, but what 9 times out of 10 people will select the money drawing or the pay me candle rather than that one. And so I have to make those candles look especially attractive in the descriptions and in the labels so that people will choose those and get the healing rather than just give me money or make that person love me. So it's really frustrating sometimes because I know what is going to work best. And this isn't
Right.
hubris, this is experience of saying you have to heal what's going on with you that created this situation. Oh no, he cheated on me and left me for her. And so that wasn't something I did wrong. Okay, well, you need to heal the relationship. And you're not going to be able to have a relationship with him until you heal the anger over that particular indiscretion. Not that it's not earned, but as long as
Right.
that anger is there, it's going to be very hard to draw that person back to you.
Yep.
So, so yeah, they don't
Or
like
even
that healing component.
or even have you found that it's hard to draw, at least I've seen this in my practice, but I wonder about yours, drawing a new person even, while you still
Oh,
have that anger
yeah.
intact.
You will draw an angry person or you will draw the same type of person that you had before until you heal that. Now, you mentioned laws of attraction. I love that theory. I love Course in Miracles. I love all of those ideas as ideas. But as you mentioned, it's so much more nuanced than that. There's so much more to it. In affirmations, there's so much more to it than just saying the words. And it's hard to get people to accept that. People want spell work and affirmations and law of attraction to do all the heavy lifting in their lives. They don't want to do the work, or they want to find a different way to do the work and that doesn't involve them doing the work. And
Right.
with law of attraction, if law of attraction worked on its own, all of us would have had ponies when we were 12. Okay? Because we would
Yep.
jump through every law of attraction hoop we could to get a pony. And the ponies just didn't happen. I was promised a pony, I got no pony.
Well,
So I
and
really think we have to dig deeper than that.
when you say that, it makes me think of like how many things I am so glad did not show up.
Right? That's the other side of it, is how much we want something, how much we put ourselves out there for it, how much we program for it, how much we surround ourselves with people who have that. If it's not intended for us, it's probably not going to happen, or it's going to happen and we will wish it didn't. And that's not a cautionary tale. That's not saying we shouldn't ever wish for things. It's saying read the room, folks. Look at what's happening. If you are just banging on the floor and crying and beating your breast that something's not happening the way you want it to happen, think about why that might be, or have a conversation with me or with Dahlia or with another healer about what's going on. And you know what they come back to? I must be blocked.
Nope.
Rather than that's the title of today's episode. I must be blocked. I'm not getting what I want, so I must be blocked. So think about it as a little kid who wants to go play in the road. And mama's like, no, idiot, you can't go play in the road. Have you seen what happens to the raccoons and stuff that play in the road? Don't do that.
Right.
Well, can you imagine that child saying, well, I must be blocked because I can't go play in the road right now?
That's a great
Sometimes,
analogy.
yeah, sometimes the universe is looking out for us. Or a toddler, not even a toddler, like I've seen 10, 12, 15-year-olds having a fit in the store because their parent isn't buying them what they want. It's not that that child is blocked from having it energetically. It's a parent has a bigger picture of things and is saying no. The parent is saying, if
Of
I
course.
buy you these Air Jordans, I can't pay my light bill. There's your blockage. Sometimes it ain't about
Right.
you.
Me as a parent, my kids have not and will not have Air Jordans until their feet stop growing. That's that's
Well,
my philosophy.
my daughter is an ace at thrift store shopping. All my kids are. I was so blessed with kids that didn't care about any name brand anything. And when they got to be older, that's when she bought her Jeffree Star makeup. Okay. It wasn't under, she was like, hey, I make money. I'm going to get this. So I
Right.
was very blessed with that. But I've seen parents just struggle to make sure their kids have the best of the best. And the universe will do that for you to an extent. The universe will really try to give you the best life you want. But every now and then, the universe has to say no just to
Right.
protect us from ourselves. And so, I
And
mean, if
our
the universe
limiting
listened,
beliefs.
yeah, if the universe listened to me, I wouldn't be married to Eric. I'd be married to my first husband because God knows I begged the universe to bring him back to me. Please, please, we've been together 17 years. We've got 4 kids. Please, please don't let him leave. Keep him here with me. No. I just got a big fat no.
Well, yeah, and even then, there was like a little like a burst of, hey, I'm just gonna show you that you don't want this person, right? When it came to
And
that
that's what happens
situation.
when I burn the candle. We burn the candle. You probably do this too to get the person back or to encourage the person back. They come back. Then you got the person on your doorstep saying they can't get rid of this guy because they hate being around him. I remember why I didn't want to be married to him. Now you got a problem, don't you?
No,
People break up for a reason
they do.
every time.
And they forget it. It's kind of like child labor. Like women forget that and they go, "Oh, we're gonna have another one," and then they, and then you're in it and you're like, "No, I remember
I
why I
was
didn't want to do this."
I was a doula. I was a midwife. I hear them all going, "Oh God, help me! I forgot what this was like. No, get it out of me." Yeah, I heard all that.
Right.
I think one of the biggest challenges. There's two I can look up that we have where it gets to the point when a person has enough crisis, it becomes difficult for them to understand when they are no longer in crisis. So they
Yes.
get used to ongoing sense of crisis, and that develops into anxiety as a trauma response. And then you can't get them to see, hey, everything's okay right now. We need, just like of the woman laboring, between the contractions, you're not in pain. Your back might be a little sore, but
Yeah.
you've got a good 3, 5 minutes that you're okay. But that's not what you remember. You remember that 45 seconds you were having a contraction.
And you're
And
waiting
so
for the
you
next
get,
one.
right. And so it feels like the whole experience was pain when really the majority of labor is being not in pain.
I was shocked to find that out. Just sitting there, like, all right, well,
Yeah.
I'm in
But
labor,
Lord help me when
really?
that 50 minutes come or 50 seconds comes. It's like, ah. So people are like that with crisis, energetic crisis, where you've had the dissolution of a relationship, or you've had uh, a death or a loss, or I mean, grief is a horrible, horrible thing in crisis. You lost your job, whatever it might be. But once things start to get good, it's hard for people to recognize that after, especially a series of crises. And sometimes you have to guide them to that acknowledgement that, hey, it might be time to start to work on some maintenance here and be stable.
Yep.
I notice the same thing with people trying to lose weight. They want an ongoing trajectory of weight loss. They don't
Yep.
want their body to have time to adjust and stabilize and figure out what's happening and then go down again. They want constant progress.
Can you
And
imagine if your body just like was like, loop?
some people do. Some people have that fortune. I was not one of them. But some the thing is too that with crises, they want to see everything getting better and better and better every day. And sometimes you have to stop and have those moments of gratitude for what is good right now,
Yeah,
and let
absolutely.
your energy calibrate to what's going on.
Well, without that period of adjustment, you wouldn't know what to do with the thriving piece. You would still be treating, again, like you said, that's exactly how we arrive at
Mhm.
that place of treating
Yeah,
maintenance and thriving like survival, is that you don't properly integrate. The same thing happens with healing, it happens with learning.
it
Um,
does.
you don't truly grasp what you've gained in those processes. And I think one way to support that integration process is when you get through a maybe survived healing moment, is to make some sort of adjustment, some sort of physical adjustment. So you went through all this spiritual stuff, and I've seen people dye their hair,
Hmm.
move things around. And so that was another aspect of conversations that were going on was, hey, maybe your environment's out of balance.
Oh,
Maybe
that's
you've got
good.
stuck
Yeah.
energy hiding in between all those papers on your desk, or visualizing the cluttered things that are attached to old situations. And we have our own purger expert here with us, Eric Wolf.
Yes,
you
we
know
do.
maybe you've held on to something and the vibration of that is triggering the memories, but they're not so conscious that you're aware. It's just that subconscious nagging that's like, oh, something's still off. And it's because you have the attachment to the stuff and you haven't
Yeah,
cleaned the stuff yet. So, a lot of environmental factors can be there. And I know we've talked a little bit about that on the show.
we have.
And it transcends the stuff. I found myself talking to somebody about a move they had just made to this area on the East Coast, and they were like, actually two people, and they were like, yeah, it's so different, and I was like, yeah, like this is an empath's nightmare in the DMV. Like, this is,
Yeah.
if you are sensitive, stay away. Work from the suburbs and the outskirts.
Oh, for sure. And one of the first things I tell people if they're feeling stuck, now, I think that rather than saying I'm blocked, if they want to think about the idea of being stuck where I can't figure out how to move forward, the quickest way to walk a new path in life is to move your furniture around in your
Yes.
house. You'll be forced to walk a new path literally, even just moving your couch, changing the direction your bed faces, just move your dresser. Even if you're in a tiny apartment that doesn't accommodate very much shifting, shift something. So you have to walk a different path, and your brain and your spirit will respond to the fact that you are reprogramming the steps that you take. And another thing I wanted to bring up, when people are in crisis, one of the biggest things that will suffer is sleep. If you are not getting
Mm-hmm.
enough sleep, none of this is going to process out right. It just isn't. And a big mistake people make in terms of being able to sleep is what direction their bed faces.
Oh
And
yeah. Okay.
yeah, so you want the head of the bed in a direction that's calming, not invigorating. So if we've got the head of the bed in east, that's where the sun rises. That's new beginnings. That's air. And so that's intellect and thoughts and academics. And so that's when you get the racing thoughts of, how do I solve this problem? What do I need to think about at night?
Right.
Is having the bed in the head in the position of the east. If you've got it in the south, that's creativity, that's fire, that is uh, passion, that is energy, and so that'll keep you up. But if you've got it in the west, that's endings, that's calmness, that's intuition, that's dream time. If you've got it in the north, that's earth, so that's calming and grounding and taking all that energy down to mother. So if you're having trouble sleeping, you might want to move your bed.
And if you can't move your bed, you can do some things to um, maybe align yourself with those directions. So representative statuary, or whatever you've got to do to get creative about that process, I think is, and I mean, you can always sleep at the opposite end of your bed too. Like, let's not make it
That's
harder
what I was
than
going to
it
say. Just
is.
flip it. Yeah.
um, and this plays a little bit into feng shui as well. I'm not an expert by any means, but we had a guru come from India. That was 2021 and a little bit of 2020. And he would always remark, never sleep in the south because it was just too much energy. I mean, he went as far as to say that's where where the demons come in. But you know, it is it is what it is in your frame of reference and belief, right? But he was very adamant, like at least as far as the South, and I believe it was the East was where food should be made. And
Hmm.
so, again, we're sticking with the North and the West being your or
Yeah.
yes, the North and the West being your best options. So,
Well, and when you look at where the monsters live, they're in the closets or under the beds. And that's, if you're looking at a map and you're in your bed, the monsters are south of you. you know Also, the closets, that's where a lot of stale energy lives. And one of the
yep,
the components of feng shui is to make sure you don't have any areas of stale condensed energy. Like if you've got a corner and you've got your TV stand kind of catty corner across that corner, behind that TV is going to be stale energy. So you want to string some bells there, or put a broom back there or something to just boot out the energy a little bit. And
yep,
also, never miss the chance for a good Four Thieves Chinese wash bath for your house, because
yes.
that'll just take that energy to baseline and make everything nice again.
And again, if you're delayed on getting some of these tools, because Katrina sells these on her website, crossroadsoccult.com. You can get those washes for thieves and the Chinese wash to sweeten up the energy that's coming into your space. But my one of my mentors would, when we first got Crystal Cognizant, she was like, "Oh, new space. You want me to break up the energy?" And I was ready for her to do some like, you know, set the space and call in and all she did was go around
Yep.
and I was just like, at first I was like, what? But after she was done, and the force and the intention of it all, that clapping made such a difference. It broke up the energy. We had a store full of people. So, everybody was excited to be there. It was our open house, and she broke up that energy and it just lightened. And then the joy
Mhm.
continued instead of being weighed down by, you know, this person over here doesn't like that person, or this
Mhm.
person's apprehensive anxiety, or, it went right back to neutral. So, while you're waiting on an order from Katrina, or you're waiting to get an appointment with her or me, just clap your hands around your house, give
There
it
you
one
go.
good applause,
Yep.
celebrate yourself, movement, dance, break
We banged the
something.
basalt stones together because we got those
Oh,
massage
nice.
basalt stones, and you smack them and they make the loud noise. And I'm telling you, it's like an internet meme,
Yep.
because you picture that it's going to be all like you said. Let's smudge all the corners and call in the quarters, and it's you with a saucepan and a wooden spoon going, "Get out, bitches! Bad spirits
I
be
ain't got time for
gone."
this shit.
Yeah, off goes you. Off you fuck. Off you fuck.
So
And
that's
it's the
what we're
best
here
part.
for, folks.
That's what we do. Thank you for being
Yeah,
here.
it's really that easy. Thank you for coming to our TED Talk.
But yeah, it really is. And one of the challenges I think that you and I have, as I would call us facilitators, because we're really the coach on the sidelines, trying to help people achieve the touchdown, or create that life that they're looking for. And I think one of our biggest challenges is to get people to recognize their own progress in moving
Mm,
forward, and to understand when, again, it might be time to convert to maintenance, and actually start to look at some ideas for how to thrive. And you start talking to people about thriving, and they look at you like you just sprouted another head. They don't think that that's something that they can do because they've been stuck in survival mode for so long. But we were not born into this world just to survive and then die. There's a bigger spectrum than that. And I think that it's our job to get to that place. And sometimes we need help doing that.
Absolutely. And conversations with the law of attraction going on in the background as I was fussing with my nails today um, were trying to manifest only what you think you can achieve as opposed to your actual dreams. You know, when you're a kid, you dream of what's or seemingly impossible things as an adult, and then you stop and you just go, okay, well, I don't want to be disappointed, so let me just ask the universe for this much, even though I know there's this much more. Um, and we got to get out of that headspace. Like you said, Katrina, we're definitely facilitators for that. And then I know you're my facilitator for that.
And you're mine.
So, it's not as if we are beyond what we're saying. Um, it's great to have sticky notes, reminders, like Eric was saying earlier in the broadcast in his comment. Affirmations are the beginning, so start that process. Include um, your highest desires, not just what you think you can achieve. I've been trying to wish on the impossible lately. Like a who knows, like a full house for X amount of dollars, and I don't know how it's gonna come, but it's gonna come, whatever it is. And then give a time frame, of course, because you don't want, yeah, it arrived 5 years later
Yeah.
to be the case.
One of the things that, and I talk about cusp a lot in our conversations, but one of the things we learned in the first, I would say, Wolf will have to correct me on this if I'm wrong, but I would say it was in the first 8 to 10 years of cusp developing and us embellishing it as it revealed itself to us more than anything, is we found that there are some harvests that take years to happen. Initially, we thought it was going to be okay, plant in the spring, harvest in the fall. But not all foods are like that. There are some foods that when you plant it, they're not going to produce for 2 or 3 years. And there are some goals like that you will make great effort on what's happening and not see a result. But it could be happening underground and it's going to flourish in 2 or 3 years. And there are some personal goals that, even with magic backing us, take a long time to happen. And that can make us feel stuck because we
Absolutely.
did all the right things and nothing's happening. But we could look at that in regard to the seed analogy too. If we plant a seed in the spring and nothing's happening in a couple of months, are we going to go out and dig up that seed to see what it's doing? And that's where faith becomes so important. Just never letting go of that goal until it reaches a point that we feel like that goal is no longer applicable for us. And then we might get it anyway, just as a little hoot from the universe.
Right.
But there's been lots of things that did not come into fruition for me for many years, despite me working on them every single year, being disappointed. Like the kid that wakes up Christmas, and didn't get the bike. That's how I felt for a lot of harvest times. Here we would get to November 1st, and I still don't have what I asked for. But when you don't give up and you continue to lend the energy, you eventually ring the bell. You eventually get enough power behind that you get the payoff. It can just take a while, and especially on a big ask. So don't give up on that house for X number of dollars.
I haven't, not yet, but I will. I will be reaching out if I do,
And
or if I start to slip.
we have some pros here too in Wolf and Elspeth, and they're both ruthlessly purging. I mean, Wolf started his purge. He's done it as long as I've known him, and that's been almost 25 years. But Elsbeth is talking about how she's letting go and getting rid of that stuff, and it is very freeing. And sometimes, this is not a fear thing, but sometimes if you don't do it when you're moved to do it, it happens against your will that those things go away. So pay attention to the nudges.
Yep. Absolutely. And you know that releasing process, like we were saying, it has everything to do with what that's connected to too. So sometimes that physical movement that Elspeth is mentioning, that decluttering that she's mentioning, it helps release the energy as well. you know um Doing the work and not seeing the result, Katrina, feels like every healing session that we do. Like where people
Oh
come
God.
in, they're like, oh, I feel great, I feel relaxed, and maybe their goal was something that's far out in the future, and then they go out and they achieve that. Rarely do folks come back
Right.
immediately and say,
Or
hey, it
at
happened.
all.
Or
Yeah.
at all. Sometimes it's like months down the road, or like a year later, they're like, oh, by the way, when you did that thing, it,
Yeah.
it did happen. And
And
so,
sometimes you
you
never
know,
know. You don't know if they walked away going, well, that was a bunch of bullshit, or they walked away saying, oh my gosh, my life is forever changed because of what happened, or something in between. It's so often we get zero feedback and have
right.
no idea
My
what we did or didn't do.
my assumption is usually the oh, that was a bunch of bullshit, until I get the referral that they're like, oh man, it was amazing, and so that's why I'm here, because my friend said it was
Yeah.
amazing, and I'm like, oh, your friend didn't tell me.
I just had this woman just email me today and say, I don't know if you remember me. Bless her heart, I didn't. But you worked on me 4 or 5 years ago, and I had such fantastic results that I want to do it again. And I'm like, thanks for telling me. 'Cause you were just there and gone enough that I didn't even remember. It may have just been an exchange of 2 or 3 emails, and a remote cleansing, and all of a sudden they're living their best life, and I have no clue. Or
Yeah,
they're just telling people don't go to this person because nothing happened.
right. It is a constant shifting process, but it's something you learn in the healing trade. And I think you and I both teach our students that, like, I get that at least every class that I hold, like, how do I know I did a good job? And it's like, you don't. You're not doing this to
And
know
you're
if you
when
did
you're
a good
when you're
job.
teaching and they're not saying anything. And it's when you have a lot of conversation and interaction with the students in a class, you're sitting there going, I nailed it. You can see that
Yep.
it's doing it. But when they're just sitting there and every now and then they write something down and look up at you and they're like, okay, thanks, and they leave, you don't know if they're not asking questions because you were just boring, or was I just that concise? I just
Right.
had
Yep.
all the info.
Yes, the silence is weird, and you're like, okay, any questions? They're like, no, you covered everything, and it's like, how did I possibly cover every? Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
Like, are you a rabbit eating your foot off to get out of this trap? I mean, the second the seal is broken and you can leave, it's all good.
Now, with those purging processes happening, and environmental cleaning, and trying to gain an assessment of what's going on with regard to our healing work, or where we are in the healing spectrum. Is it survival, maintenance, or thriving? I love those three levels. Um, Sometimes you're looking at a friend going through this process, right? And you're like, I don't know, I'm not into the woo woo stuff, but they are, and I want to help, and you want to do something tangible. I had a lot of people, well, I shouldn't say a lot. I had a few people come into my store recently, and wanting to buy healing tools to assist their friends, and it brings up an interesting and somewhat common topic. Do I buy something for someone who's into crystals, herbs, things like that? Like, should I be purchasing these things on their behalf? And if yes, what does that look like? Um, my directions are usually I think it's possible to buy healing things for other people, and I almost think without if you were open to doing so without your intentions in mind, I think it can be
Yeah.
really good. If you're not like if you notice somebody's, for instance, in a bad relationship and you're like, no, I need them to break up with that person, you buy them like a breakup candle, it may not go over very well.
Yeah.
But if you provide, say, a healing candle or a crystal that helps them remember who they are, or
Mhm.
herbs to help them de-stress, you're probably in a better space. And that's usually where my directions are as far as, can I buy a healing tool for a friend if they need it? I think the answer is just plainly yes. And going at it for their highest and best good, not from your frame of mind, but what inspires you. And that usually looks like, do any of these remind you of this person? And then moving on that, you be it a crystal or, oh, this smells good, I think they'll like that. Even those subtle draws can create a healing for that person that you, again, you don't get to know the outcome, but it's probably going to be positive because it's something that is laced with your love, or positive intentions. And then two, um, the reminder factor, there may be some subconscious elements that you're not realizing are positive for that person as well. What are your thoughts on that, Katrina, as far as buying
Oh my
tools and
goodness.
what that
My
looks like?
mother, my mother used to give gifts to people where she would take a nice size fancy washcloth and she'd roll it in such a way and wrap it around a bar of ivory soap so that it looked like a duck. And she'd tie it with a ribbon and it looked like a duck with between the washcloth and the bar of soap. And she'd be like, here, it's some beautiful thing I made. You're giving the person a washcloth and a bar of soap. What are you saying there, Ma? And
Wash
people
up.
responded differently to it. Some people are like, "Oh my God, that's so beautiful. I love it." And some people are like, "Well, do I stink? Why are you giving this to me?" And she would give this to us like to give our teacher for Christmas and things like that
Oh
because we
no.
didn't have very much money. So the way it's presented can really be the make or break point. Let's say somebody moved into a new house, you're looking for a kind of witchy uh, housewarming gift for them. Sure, give them some Four Thieves and Chinese wash combo and a sage stick with a little abalone shell. That's a beautiful gift and a thoughtful gift for that. Somebody's in the hospital. Um, bring them some, like a healing mojo bag or something, that goes along those lines. Sure, applicable to the circumstances, but again, like you were saying, not with have an agenda attached to it. I am a big fan of the gift certificate. One of the biggest challenges we have in retail and energetic retail is there is some god awful old wives' tale out there that you shouldn't ever buy your own tarot deck, that you
Oh,
should have it purchased and given to you. And that is the most ludicrous, ridiculous thing on earth because your relationship with your tarot or oracle cards is very personal,
absolutely.
and you have to know that they talk to you, and you can't get that through another person. So it's almost as though somebody who wanted to usurp another person's ability for good retail sales made up that old wives tale, because you're not going to get good results if you buy a deck for somebody else. Even if you know they like fairies and you get them the fairy oracle, it might not speak to them at all. They got to do it themselves. So
Right.
the gift certificate is the way to go. Gift certificate for services. If you give a gift certificate to somebody for a cleansing, what is that saying? If you give somebody a gift certificate for a Reiki, or like Eric's crystal bowl healing, that's something a little bit, that's more like a massage or something that feels luxury. Me rubbing an echo on you to pull out demons is probably a little bit more personal to you. So I think it depends on what you're choosing as your helpful little tool. We can help guide you on that. But even on the stones, a lot of times with the stones, you are going to be choosing a stone that actually is addressing your needs as opposed to their needs. So I love the gift certificate idea. That really helps them to come in and feel what they want, or to research what stones they love, see if we've got that. So I'm a little nervous about people. I love the idea of buying metaphysical gifts, but as a person who has received a lot of wonderful metaphysical gifts, I would say probably about half of the gifts that I've received in the last several years have been, oh my gosh, this person really gets me. I
Yeah.
love this. This is so me. I didn't even know I wanted this. I mean, right there, there's a statue of Angel Michael that was given to me that I didn't even know that was a thing, that particular one. And it's beautiful. It's fantastic. And I love it. I didn't know to want that. But I've also had a bunch of stuff that's just, oh my God, thank you.
No, I have to
That's
find somewhere for
wonderful.
it.
Like this right here, like, see, I'm wearing this beautiful
Ah,
healer stone. This was a surprise. Somebody really loved me and really knew I needed that. And I wear it most of the time. But I've got a lot of other stuff. It's like, oh, I saw this and thought of you. Thank you for thinking of me. What the fuck am I going to do with this?
right. Another thing to dust.
Yeah. Or purge when the time comes. I have to rehome this to somebody who really needs it, who probably also doesn't want it. So, and so I'm not trying to discourage gift giving. I love gift giving. I never used to get gifts. When I first married Eric, and it was probably even 10 years into it, I would tell him, I'm just not a person that inspires gifts. I never get gifts from people. And once I started reprogramming that statement that I put out to the universe, I started getting lots of gifts from my students and stuff, and I love it. I love that somebody thought of
Aw,
me and took the time you know, this made me think of you. So
that's
it's
often
really a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag.
I often have that conversation too. I don't know what to get this person. Well, but again, you every time they see it, they're gonna think of you. That may be enough. But maybe make it small if you're not sure. um,
Yeah, but as
and
far
I
as
think we
retail and
underestimate the power
shopping,
of gift certificates.
yeah, it's really good. But as if you know that they like vanilla and you come in and you say, "Do you have an incense that has vanilla in it?" I'm going to say, "Sure, Valhalla has got sandalwood and vanilla in it. They're going to love it." And so there are recommendations that Dahlia or I can make based on how well you know that person. Or like, my daughter. I knew the second that one of our vendors brought in um, stones that are carved into the shape of a frog, she's going to lose her freaking mind if I get her one. So it's got to do also with your level of intimacy with that person and what you know about them.
Absolutely. And it's a simple conversation and observation sometimes too. You're watching them go through whatever they're going through and or just ask. I mean, we get so weird about
Yeah.
gifts. Just
Yeah.
ask.
But
Is there
also
anything I
think
can
of it
do?
as medicine. Would you just go out and buy medicine for a person?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. But you got to talk to
Some people,
somebody. Talk to the pharmacist. He's got a rash on his
right?
butt. What can I use? What can you describe the rash?
Oh my goodness, energy rashes, no bueno.
No point. All bad.
So, with everything that we've covered today, we've gone from survival to maintenance to thriving. We've talked about what that looks like. If we can always generalize about what that looks like, but you're going to know beyond everything else. And one great thing that Katrina pointed out is don't just ask yourself, am I in survival, maintenance, or thriving? But ask yourself, am I thriving and waiting for the shoe to drop? Just so you know where you are
Oh
or
yeah.
wherever you are on the spectrum,
I
right?
didn't say that. That's way smarter than what I said. That's really good.
You know, wherever you are on the spectrum, also evaluate your environment, what's going on around you. And I think I brought this up in one other show. Other than the clutter and what's going on, and definitely pursue the washing of your space, but the actual space that you're in as far as astrocartography, it's invaluable if you can find an
Mhm.
astrologer to do that for you. Or I think astro.com has a free version, but you can see based on all the normal astrology stuff, where you were born, what time, and the day, obviously. um, you can see where on the planet your energies are best aligned. Like, I spoke to my astrologer about my astrocartography, and he made mention of like New York being a place where I would thrive with love. And I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to thrive with love because I hate New York.
Oh, wow. Wow.
um, and that's a strong word, right? Like I don't hate New York. I just hate what it comes with. So there's that.
But
And
Dahlia, too, speaking of that, I'm sorry, go ahead. Finish it.
no, 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 I was gonna say, and I found love in
Sorry.
Virginia, so here we are.
Yeah, nice. What you're talking about is so important because people also, when they're looking to change, they'll rearrange their furniture, they'll clean it up with four thieves and Chinese, they'll burn all the candles in the world, and they don't stop and look out at the people around them.
Yep,
And sometimes you have to change associations to get the thriving that you want. I mean, if part of what you're trying to change is you don't want to be an alcoholic that is immersed in their addiction anymore, you're going to have to stop hanging out at the bars. You're going to
yep.
have to stop hanging out with people who facilitate that behavior in you. If you want to I don't know, if you want to stop swearing for whatever fucking reason, don't be around people who swear all the time like
Who
us,
wants to do
you
that?
know?
Fuck.
Right. You know, so surround yourself with people who uplift what you're wanting to do and support that and embrace that themselves. I've mentioned the weight loss thing. Don't be around people who are eating fast food and desserts all the time if you're wanting to lose weight, because it's going to make it harder. You will sink to that lowest level with the people you surround yourself by. As Eric says, if you are in if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You need to surround yourself with people you aspire to be like and that
Absolutely.
motivate you. So do that kind of
Absolutely.
purge too.
Right. Your environment transcends just your living space. It's your body, it's the place, it's the people. Know your environment, know where it's out of balance, and you'll start to see those sort of survival, maintenance, and thriving aspects in those arenas as well. And then, you know, as far as the things that you can do to support your healing process, spell work is great. Realize that spell may have to support your healing if you haven't done so. So you can't just buy the candle and do the thing. If you want your spell, your manifestation, however you operate with the universe and its energies, if you want to see some real change, if you do the inner work, then those things have less work to do. There's less obstacles between you and your goal. But you can't just burn the money candle and get the money. You got to heal your relationship with the money, just as Katrina said. You can't just and maybe don't ask for that person back. Maybe ask for why, what was the lesson so that you don't make that mistake again. And there you
I
go.
always tell my people it's so much easier for me to draw your perfect partner to you than it is for me to bring back somebody you're not with right now
Right.
or to
That
try
maybe
to,
wasn't the
yeah.
perfect partner. Yeah. And lastly, if you're buying those gifts for other people, gift certificates. Or keep it small and just operate in your highest and best good when you're doing things
Ask
from
for
a place
help.
of love. When you're doing things from a place of love, ask for help
Yeah,
and know that it's
from a place of
probably
love.
not going to be too bad, right?
Yeah.
But here we are at that time again, the end of our show. Not quite goodbye, but see you later. Until next Thursday, remember, like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Share your comments before, well, after. And, we do have a Facebook page if you want to share something beforehand. But other than that, we're going to put this back in the fridge for now and see you guys next week. Thanks for participating. Bye, everyone.
Bye.